Welcome to Unit 8, What's Your Talent, Module 3. In this module, we will learn to identify the vocabulary to describe the bones of the human body. We are now going to start with the bones of the head, and more specifically, the bones in our skull. As you can see in the image from left to right, we have the frontal bone, the sphenoid, the nasal bone, the zygomatic, the maxillary bone. We also have the teeth that are extensions of our bones and are connected to the bones in the mouth and our mandible. Then we have from right to left, up the mandible, the temporal bone, the occipital, the parietal bone. These are the main bones in our skull as part of our heads. Welcome to our next section on the facial bones. We can see in our figure from left to right first the supraorbital foramen. The temporal bone comes after. Then we have the lacrimal bone followed by the inferior nasal concha and the mental foramen. From right to left we can see in our figure the coronal suture, the optic canal, followed by the superior orbital fissure, the mastoid of temporal bone, and the vomer. This is all the view of the facial bones. In our ear, we also have bones. The bones of the ear are located in the mid-region of it. Apart from all the parts of our ear, we're going to focus our attention in the middle of the ear where we can find its main bones. They are the malleus, the incus, and the stapes. The bones of the ear aren't so numerous, but they are equally important for our body. In the throat, we're going to find similar number of bones as in our previous section, the ear. As part of taking a look at what are the components of the throat, we can see in our image that the throat encloses what we know as the hiatus bone and the larynx. The throat is just our duct for many of the types of foods we eat, and it's equally important to our respiratory system. I hope you learn about this amazing part of the body. Welcome back to the bones under the head. This time, we're going to take a look at the bones of the shoulder. As you can see in the image, we are going to mention the main bones for our shoulder. Let's start by naming our first bone, which is the clavicle, the bone that joins our shoulder with our neck. Then we will have the scapula, that is constituted by three main sections: the scapular spine, the scapular neck, and the scapular inferior angle. And our last bone for the shoulder is the humerus, that can have the following sections: humeral head, the trochlea, and the olecranon fossa. Our next set of bones are the bones of the thorax. Looking at our image, let's pay attention from left to right to two sets of ribs, the true ribs and the false ribs. Then from right to left, we will have the jugular notch and the clavicular notch, and the group that forms the sternum, the manubrium, the sternal angle, the body, the xiphisternal joint, and the xiphoid process. This is all for the thorax bones. We are now with the vertebral column bones. We will divide them by colors for easy identification. Let's start by taking a look at our vertebral column. We're going to start by mentioning the groups of vertebrae that form the column. The first group is the cervical group, as you can see in a red color. The next one that we will identify is blue, is the thoracic group of vertebrae. Then, in yellow, we will find the lumbar, and finally, our two smaller groups, the sacrum and the coccyx. These were the bones in our vertebral column. Our arms have sets of bones that are not new for us. In fact, some of them are also found in our shoulders and different sections of the arm. We find, for instance, in the arm, the humerus, the radius, and the ulna. Later on this module, we will break down parts of the arm into the different sections: the forearm, the wrist, the palm, and fingers. For example, in the forearm, we will find again the radius and the ulna. In the wrist, we will find bones such as the hamate, the capitate, the pisiform, the trichotrum, and the lunate. From left to right and from right to left, we can find in our image the trapezoid, the trapezium, and the scaphoid. We will study the bones of the palm next. In the palm, we find the metacarpal bones identified per finger from 1 to 5. And finally, we will have our 5 fingers or phalanges, divided into 3 sections: proximal, middle, and distal. This was our section on the parts of the arm. Going down by our hip, we find the pelvis. Identified in the image, we can see with the numbers from 1 to 9 the following bones. First, the sacrum. Second, the ilium. In third place, we have the ischium. Then in fourth, the pubic bone. The fifth is the pubic symphysis. Up next, in sixth place, come the acetabulum. After this, the obturator foramen. In eighth, the coccyx. And finally, in ninth place, the sacroiliac joint. We will go even further down in our body and review the bones in the legs and feet. As for the bones that we can find in our legs, we find not a lot of them. We will start by talking about the femur, and under this, the patella. Going down, we find the tibia, and finally, for our legs, the fibula. And now, to describe the bones in our feet, we will have from bottom to top the calcaneus, the talus, the naviculars, and the cuboids. As we go up, we will find the cuneiforms, the metatarsals, and finally, the sesamoid bones. The last bones in our feet are our toes, that are formed, as you can see, represented in colors by the same categories as in the hand: proximal phalanges, intermediate phalanges, and the distal ones. This is the end of our lesson on the bones of the body. See you in our next unit, Unit 9.